Buffalo. Normally, you'd be expecting me to say it's not Jim, but I got a surprise today. Listeners, if you've been waiting for his anticipated return, I'm excited to say that we do have Mr. Jim in the studio today, joined by another great interview and three intelligent guests that are going to give us some good information on the development of the fruit belt and some of the things that we're doing to continue to push Buffalo to be the best city possible. I'm not going to talk so long on the mic because I'm excited to hear him make his return. Jim, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm wonderful and good to be home. Hello, Buffalo, Western New York, and points beyond. Welcome to Conversation with Jim Anderson. And then look, the fire's still burning. And yeah, this is a political shakeup too. In case you thought maybe we turned the page, we ain't turned the page. We still talking about how politics connects to everything. And what we're going to be talking about today is going to be surprise to many of people, because you're going to learn something you didn't know, and you're going to learn we'll learn a little bit about, I won't call them villains, but I'll call them villains that was blocking the road and that made it take so long for this breakthrough to come through. And then you're going to learn the role you must play. And if you anywhere near thinking you love somebody forever or hate somebody forever, let me just tell you, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And because we're imperfect people, that means that sometime we're all with each other going to be on an issue that we're going to think others on the wrong side. But when we come to that point where, the interest is of the utmost and great value, we must reason together. And, oh, man, have we got a show here today, Austin. Well, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to kick it off to the trustee in the group. And I'm going to ask Michael Norwood to reintroduce himself and pass it on to the rest of the team. I would give you a short name, but then that would be rude for me just to call out Ruthie and Bill. Some of y'all know them best by that, but I'm making them bring another title to you too. Michael, please.
Good morning, Brother Anderson. And to our listening audience, I'm Michael Norwood, a spokesperson for the Buffalo Black Billion LLC. Buffalo Black Billion Initiative is a faith-based social justice and economic development model. It's bringing $1 billion, that's right, $1 billion of economic development, ministry, and programs into East Buffalo and the Fruit Belt community. With $400 million in assets on the ground, 400 units of housing, 77 townhomes, a $2.8 million former hospice facility that is now a major mental health network, Rome, recovery opportunities made equal, and 2 employment services. In 2022, last year, we spent $87 million in renovation on both our major assets. McCarley Garden Phase 1, $57 million, and St. John Towers, $30 million. Moving forward, in 2024 and beyond, God willing, we have plans to do a $600 million affordable housing development in East Buffalo and the Fruit Belt community. Those plans include 750 new affordable housing units right here in the Fruit Belt, a $300 million 9-story development in the parking lot of St. John Baptist Church, 184 Goodell Street, which will include pharmaceutical, medical, postgraduate administration. And lastly, an 8-story, $150 million, 220 housing units in phase 2 of the McCarley Gardens initiative that will include residential, retail parking, and entrepreneurship. And speaking of entrepreneurship, this is about our youth. This whole Buffalo Black Billion initiative and every aspect of it is about involving our youth in every single area: finance, agricultural, bookkeeping, accounting, how to run their own businesses. There's a $5 million open air market going up soon. Elder Mary Capsiak will talk about that. Jobs are going to be created, 30 part-time jobs, 20 hours a week. We'd like to provide scholarships to them so that they won't have to work hourly rate. They will be students, not employees. It will be project-based learning. But throughout our last 21 years in 2 churches, 2 campuses, in 1 village, we've had to do it all. We've had to go through some very, very difficult times. We won't name any names, but the Buffalo Common Council has tried to undermine everything we've done. Elder Covington will speak to that. Elder Capsiak.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ruth Capsiak, and I'm with the Buffalo Black Billion, former school board member and president of the Buffalo School Board. We are establishing High Street Market for our students. These students, we've identified 60 students ages 8 to 13, and we will be working with them to enhance the learning that they've already achieved in the classroom. This is project-based learning. We will be focusing on students that have grade point averages around 65, so that these students will be able to get the education that is afforded to them. We will make sure that these students' abilities will be increased. These students will also be involved in chess, table tennis, bowling, and other activities that are going to increase what they are working on, the STEM programs, the science, technology, engineering, and math. They'll be afforded educational support through tutoring, remediation, real estate banking, human resources, progressive discipline, and we have a program that will help those students that are not reading at grade level. The Orton Gillingham method of teaching these students, I was trained on at the Gals School in South Wales, New York, and it was proven when I was a teacher with my special education students. It increased their learning abilities. It increased the reading. And we know if you can't read, you cannot really accomplish too much. So these students will have the programs that will enhance this. We have certified teachers at both churches and working with this program that are teaching in the Buffalo Public Schools now or charter schools. And they also have the certification to do this so that these students will be brought up to speed. They will not be left behind. We have to provide for our students now so that they will be able to be productive citizens in the future. If we don't enhance what the students' abilities are now, then they're lost. And we need our leaders to be astute and well educated.
Good morning. This is William Covington. I'm a longtime disciple at St. John Baptist Church and currently serve as an elder in the elders ministry of Gethsemane and St. John. In the past, I'm a retired labor and community organizer. I've been retired about 5 years now. I know Jim from that background. In my capacity as a leader at St. John, I've served on a number of boards, including the Fruit Belt Community Development Corporation, also the board that regulates the St. John Tower, which is called the Virginia-Michigan Housing Fund Development Corporation. So I've had an opportunity, as have my colleagues here, my fellow disciples, to work closely. We serve as both Elder Capsiak and myself and Trustee Norwood as negotiators for the Buffalo Black Billion. And what that has entailed is negotiations with City Hall and with the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus. And let me just say that if you look up the word obstacle in the dictionary, I would be surprised if City Hall and the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus doesn't pop up in that dictionary listing. Mary Ruth referred to the market that we've been struggling to develop and get off the ground now for 13 years. The initial plans for the market were submitted to the city 13 years ago, have been through a series of approvals and then denials and obstruction for 13 years. a lack of support from our political leadership. I believe that currently we're about to experience a breakthrough with the market and are going to be able to move forward. But speaking of the youth, when the youth who are preparing to become involved in the leadership and training work around the market, learning how to operate a business and develop themselves in terms of business, they were in their late single-digit years, 8 and 9 years old, when this market was initially proposed. They're now in their early 20s in some cases, late teens and early 20s. 13 years we've been waiting for this breakthrough, for this single breakthrough. And this is only a part of what the Buffalo Black Billion is attempting to move forward. And we expect to be successful because historically, our location at Michigan and Goodell, our location, we believe is a God-blessed location. So the McCarley Gardens is a testimony to that, the church campus itself, the St. John Tower, the Family Life Center across the street, the hospice that was referred to earlier. All of this, we believe, is a blessing of God, and that we believe God's going to be on our side going forward, and has been. It's proven that he will be. So that's my contribution to the discussion.
Well, there certainly is a lot to talk about what's happening there, because it's easy for one to imagine it being that for these past 13 years, you haven't been able to say much because you've been waiting on the city to make its move. And therefore, a large part of the community had no idea this is going on. And also when those winds came up, there's some in the community had issues on McCarley Gardens and how it's being handled. But to me, this is one of these moments where we see the aha that was in the mix. That one, if the city had not been blocking the way, I'm thinking about those young people who are now in their early 20s, where they would be. I think about it not only as them as a personage, but also as an economic value to the community, as an inspirement to other parts of the communities in Emily Lake. I also think that in this moment where there's been some shade put on St. John and the work you do in the Fruit Belt, it's an opportunity to look at another side of St. John, because everything about St. John is not bad. And I think it's important for people to see that in this moment, because sometimes we pull the hate wagon forever and ever and ever. So I'm gonna get the mic back over to you, but let me make one yell, because I was away these past couple of weeks and the mic's been being rocked by our brother, Murray Holloman. And Murray, as you know, is a peacekeeper, stop the violence peace person, just able to stand in the gap on many things, has ran for political office, won't be the last time, I'm sure. But this is the beauty. We got a community full of folks who can step up, who can roar, and so much love. And man, he ain't gone, y'all. We're gonna be popping you with some new stuff we're gonna be doing between the TV show and the radio show. So this is a great moment. Great folks on the scene. Great guests in the studio. So with all of that I was throwing out, it wasn't really a question, but it was kind of a question in there. If you want to speak to any part of that, I'm sure Austin is going to have some comment to make along the way, because the piece about young people is still needed and really needed, because some people aren't showing up good enough. They show up and they kind of fizzle, I've even heard mothers and relatives wonder if the young people are really getting opportunities. But I think this is one that is really worth investing in. If anybody know anything about what you already done, I would say don't miss the train. Don't miss the train. Yeah.
I actually do have a perspective from the young person's side. I know we talked a lot about how the Buffalo Black Billion is for the young people, right? This is for putting our city, allowing it to be successful, not just for now, but for the years to come. As that young perspective, I oftentimes hear of programs and enrichment opportunities that sound really good, But I'll tell you and just show you a little bit of the mindset for the young people, because I think sometimes it's a distance, it's a disparate nature, it's a different time to be raised up in. And so as a young person, sometimes it feels like is that at a table that we weren't even trying to get to, we're invited, right? Hey, I have an opportunity for you, right? And we get to the table and we're sitting here and we were coached all the way to the table. When we get to the table, the support leaves. And now everybody's busy and life happens. And now the opportunities that we were promised or we thought we were getting or that were put in front of us, the food on the table, I now can't get a piece of. And so within that relationship, I know we're busy people, right? We're doing great things in the city, but how do we make sure that the things that we say, the promises that we make get fulfilled then, right? Not weeks down, not months down, not time down, because what happens is as a young person, that's disheartening, right? It feels like I'm not supposed to be here. I was promised something that I thought I earned, and then I don't get it. Was I not supposed to be here? What did I do wrong? And so when you talk about creating leaders for the city, right, we can't disenfranchise or cut down leaders because of, and it's not malicious, right? We want to put opportunities on the table, but we need to make sure that if we promise something, that we put it on the plate for us to eat it, because if not, we're just going to leave because we're hungry. And there's other tables, right? We know the world is easy to grab young people, right? 24 hours in a day. If we don't grab those hours for good, they're going towards evil, right? So if we know there's other tables that will willingly invite us in and give us food that we don't need, but that we want, they'll give us all the chips and candy that we want. How do we make sure the tables that we know has the sustenance that young people need, that we're getting fed and not forgotten and passed around, because that's how it sometimes feels. And that's not just a recollection of the young perspective. That's my experience, right? In my 1 year of speaking, I've had many promises made. And so you become a little, I'm too young to be cynical, right? I'm too young not to believe, right? And when you have that permission to dream, as I call it, the more times that someone promises food and then takes it away, well, that's how food problems, food security issues happen. And now I'm fighting for my money. Now I feel like you disrespect me by shorting me $1. Why? Because this single dollar to you, this single dollar that we're passing back and forth between me and my friend, even though it's only $1, nothing to get upset over, because I've been promised and that dollar's been taken away so many times, that money takes an unhealthy importance because it feels so hard to get. So how do we make sure that in our busyness, right, in the buffer that we're trying to create, and these promises that we make, that they'll be fulfilled to the best of our ability for all parties involved?
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I'm on this side of you.
Well, let me just say this. I was once told that you have to have a start to have an ending. And so in our 2 churches, 2 campuses, and 1 village, this is what we are about. Our Buffalo Black Billion recognizes that our young people are our leaders, and we want to invite them. And that's what this market project is all about. This initiative is to take those young people. We have a network set up with the Buffalo Board of Education in collaboration with Cornell Cooperative Extension to identify 60 young people, 30 initially, and to take them and give them that opportunity to become and to teach them how to be run their own businesses. We've worked in the past with young people who have shadowed our overseer, and we brought in corporate Buffalo so that they could see how meetings are run and how these types of things take place. And out of our business and leadership has come this project. We want to take these young people, teach them how, as I said earlier, to run their own businesses. We want them to be involved in every aspect of what we're doing now, all of this development, the finance, the bookkeeping, the marketing. We ran a limousine service, a suggestion that was brought to us by one of our young people, and limousine service where we purchased 3 limousines and allowed them to run it. We've also had a bingo opportunity that we've run, and they were a part of that. We've had John Madden. And so now we recognize that we need to take this thing further. We want to groom them so that they can take their rightful position in this world to take it to the next step. You're absolutely right, young man, when you say promises have been made. Promises were made to us, and we were cut off at the knees. But we now have to take and identify young folks and say, hey, look, no man is an island. We must groom you and must get you together.
And with that being said, we would have had this market up and running if it had not been for people politically standing in the way of our accomplishing this. So trust me, when I get involved in something, I want to see it come to fruition. I worked for the school district, I worked for on the Board of Education, and I continue to try to help young people in any way I can, and with the reading program that I mentioned to you earlier. So with us now being able to move forward, this will come to fruition. And, with the market, it's teaching young people healthy eating habits, starting with that, because a lot of parents don't reinforce how children should eat. With this market and the fresh fruits and vegetables that will be grown and has been grown, and this past summer, a lot of families were being fed from vegetables that had been grown, but adults were involved in it. Now we want our children involved. So let's move this forward so that our children can get what they deserve.
Correct. And I'm going to just say one more piece, and then I think we should go on to the market, because I do think we have a lot of news we need to cover. I think, though, as people, we recognize how you do something is how you do everything, right? And so these programs, these monumental moments are great, but I'll be more specific. I was promised things, right, by affiliates, even of St. John's, right? And so when those things don't come to fruition, right, the big things are great, but I'm looking at the grains of salt. I'm looking at the grains of sand on the beach, not the shore we're sitting on. And so the grains sometimes are what cut or hurt a little longer than the big moments, because that's great for those 60 kids and that's great for the 30 kids. But for the rest, for those little small white things that we just forget about, those in our mind, right? The $50 to you is $1 million to me, because that's where I am in my life, right? I'm young. And so those small things really, really stick with people for a long time. And like I said, I'm in a different scenario because of who I surrounded myself with. But if I wasn't, I see how those small pieces, those small moments could have barred me or took me off of a path that I feel like I was called for. And so that's all I wanted to express, and just want viewers and everybody in studio to think about, as someone, right, when you have the food, when I'm giving the opportunity, just making sure that opportunity is fully given in the fullness of what that means. But moving on to the news, because you guys are making great moves in government, can we get an understanding?
I think you need to pause and let people respond to what you said, because you made a statement and it was specific. So we went to general, we went from specific to general to specific. So I think you need to give them a chance. I need the mic. He can't hear me on the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need to give the people an opportunity to respond to a specific statement, because you asked a specific question. They talked about projects. Then you made it more specific, and you need to give them an opportunity to respond. Now, maybe the people in the room can't respond, but it was an unfulfilled promise that was made in this room. So give them an opportunity to respond.
If I may, what touched me the closest in what you said was that you said even St. John, it sounded as though you were saying even St. John had broken promises, or that there was a disappointment involved in something that you felt had been extended to you as a promise. So it's not possible to address that, because we really don't have an idea of what that is, and maybe we ought not to spend the rest of the interview trying to dig to the bottom of that. We can talk about it later. But our experience, Elder Kapsiak referred to a food growing effort. So these are things that are kind of in the baby stages. And it wasn't just adults that were working on that food growing project the last couple of summers. It was young folks as well. Young folks that are emerging into leadership with these projects. And as we build out from those projects, the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church property is going to become, over the next little while, year or two, a food distribution center. And we will be, I don't know what the word is, but we'll be developing a greenhouse, a large greenhouse in a portion of the building that is now Gethsemane, so that the capacity to grow food and provide food for people, but also the capacity to have young people involved in the nuts and bolts of it expands as we go forward. So I guess that's what I wanted to contribute or respond to what you said.
Yeah, along with that, I wanted to ask you on that programming. Since you mentioned that, when you first started with the younger ages, and now they're moved on up into their early 20s. So when will you be upgrading, or is it the new programming going to be inclusive of both age levels, like still starting with the original younger age, and then with the elders who are probably more into, well, I won't necessarily say more, but certainly looking at entrepreneurship even more so. Is that the more of the programming you're trying to get them into?
Well, let me just jump in here, and Elder Capsiak will follow this. One of the things that we're hoping the new council member elect will do is to lift the moratorium. If the moratorium can be lifted, that will allow us to go on and proceed with our projects. This thing has been on the last 7 to 10 years, and it was placed on the largest African-American developer in the city of Buffalo. And we respectively would like to request that be one of the things, one of her highest priorities once she takes office, is to lift this thing. This was only placed upon our 2 churches, 2 campuses, and 1 village. And so what it did is it allowed the Caucasian developers to come in and to continue developing while we were held up. Now, this is one of the reasons, one of the things that is a monkey wrench, a hiccup that was thrown in our path as we were moving forward. As Elder Covington said earlier, 13 years it's taken the city to now get to the point to where they're ready to release this. I mean, this is an atrocity. We're talking about $1 billion in economic development, ministry, and programs. Who wouldn't want that in their district? A trumpet of joy should be sounded throughout the streets and corridors of this city to say, hey, man, there's $1 billion happening. What's the holdup? We've had folk to turn their back on this and to stand in the way. And we've had skirmishes with both, as was mentioned, the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus and in city government, doing projects that they should have. We should have an open door to bring this. We've been told that Buffalo is the 3rd poorest city in America. And when we look at these types of things, why can't we move forward? There have been a 514 tragedy that took place here. A congressman was asked on TV, heard about the things happening in your district. He should have been able to look over his shoulder, a stone's throw away, and point to the developments that are taking place during the Buffalo Black Billion. And yes, we want to move forward, but we've had these things thrown in our way. We're ready to go.
Thank you. Excuse me. I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning of the program that this would encompass students ages 8 through 18. So we are looking at our students at all grade levels. Therefore, we are not leaving any student behind.
Yeah.
We are focusing on students with a lower grade average so that we can help them bring it up. However, if you came in with a grade point average of 75 and above, we are not turning any child away. We know that this is our future. And I'm sorry it has been put on hold. And we should not let personal differences or whatever get in the way of our children learning.
They're about to take
We're going to a commercial break. We'll be right back after the break. Thank you.
The mics are off.
I'm still on live stream, but I'm going to stop the live stream. I'll stop the live stream. You want to stop your stream?